auto switch like it typically does, so this is off to a great start. This is the American League Central Rundown. I am Eric, that's Sam, Lee, and Dan. And I mean, unofficially, like this, we just completed our first official season. Good job. Round of applause for all of us here. We've done it. We've done a whole 30 episodes from the start of like literally the first week, like the week before the first season, and then Dan jumped on, and then here we did. So hey, we've
when I agreed to do this, I said I will consider this a success if we make it through the whole season and we're still doing this.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a very good.
So for me, this is a success.
We've done it, yeah, and Sam has not switched sports seasons yet. Definitely completely focused on the Royals.
I'm focused. I want the Royals to have a 500 record, and I mean, I don't know about you guys. I'm pretty jazzed about the playoffs. I'm pretty excited. I think there's a lot of teams who I think are teams that are very easy to root for, like teams that haven't won in a while that I would be, or haven't won at all, that I would be glad seeing win the World Series this year. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the standings. Let's talk about the standings. We'll talk about that too, because we really the topic is the playoffs and the formats and all of that. And then we also did a live stream on Wednesday. That was a lot of fun. Not so much for Lee, but if you were just a casual baseball fan, it was a lot of fun watching the Guardians Tigers in one of our series. So we'll just go over the series. It's the last day of the year. It is a dead tie, kind of, because the Guardians have the tiebreak against the Tigers. And I think since other than 30 minutes, the Guardians took the division lead at the start of this year, it has been the Tigers at the top of this division the entire time. And it took until Wednesday for that to come down. So who would have predicted the Guardians have done it again? Those pesky Guardians. The Tigers have salvaged but they've made the playoffs, so good for them.
Thank God.
Was looking pretty bleak there for a bit. Lee was definitely sweating it out. The Royals today fighting for a 500 record, which would be the second straight, which would be a back-to-back season, I think, for the first time since probably the World Series.
14 and 15, yeah. Yep. I will consider, though, a record. I will consider 81 and 81 a 500 winning record.
Yeah, close enough. It's not a losing record.
Yeah. If Mike Tomlin can count an exactly 500 record as a winning season, then so can we.
Yep. The Twins, who fell apart, but they still have 70 wins, so it's something. I guess that was the only benchmark they had, and the White Sox today can get up to 60 wins, which would be a 20 game improvement, 19 game improvement from last year. So,
baby steps.
Roughing the passer. Okay, good.
Just on the White Sox component there for a quick second. Before the season started, I sat here and I said, guys, we're all predicting Chicago to be better, right? Those wins got to come from somewhere.
Right.
And you know what? We all survived. I shouldn't say we all survived. Eric, I don't know that the Twins.
I was about to say,
yeah.
Is this a Birdie situation?
This is when I started this sentence. This is where I was headed, but we found where the wins came from. And we were all concerned of where they might come from. And they kind of came from maybe the Twins. I don't know what the head-to-head record was, but
I know
they had to come from somewhere. And one of the sources of them could be that the Twins won much fewer games this year. That's what
I know. The White Sox took the season series from the Twins. Right. And I'm pretty sure White Sox won one more game off the Tigers than they did last year, but I'm not 100% on that.
Right.
Last year the Royals went 12-1 against the White Sox.
Ooh.
This year they went 10-3 against the White Sox. So there's 2 wins right there. That's 10% of their, win increase right there. So,
and for the Twins, they were actually dominating the White Sox until the post-trade deadline, and then the White Sox, I think, went 6-1 against them, including a 4-game sweep. So it's
won 5 or 6 in a row off you guys too.
Yes, it was I mean, there was no question who the worst team in the division / American League / baseball in the last 2 months was, and it was in Target Field. It was not pretty. It was pretty horrendous baseball. But, they won a game last night in Philly. That was more than I thought they would do. They took a serious practice, ending on a high note. Buxton actually has a chance to have a 5-win season, so I guess that's another little goal I'm looking at. Who knows?
Well, and the other thing about the White Sox is that the Rockies are not going to take their record away.
Love that.
So the Rockies are 43-118 going into the game today against the Giants. So the Rockies are absolutely not going to take that record away.
Do you know
good job, Rockies?
Do you know how disappointed I would have been if the team I have grown up despising my entire fandom gets the most embarrassing record in baseball history and 1 year later they lose it? I would have been so disappointed. I want to rub that in their face for another, decade, 25 years or so.
It would have been so anticlimactic for them to lose it literally the next year. You got to soak in it a little bit.
Well, even if you were a fan of the White Sox, however, I don't know how you could be, but let's pretend there are White Sox fans. Wouldn't you be a little because what was that year about? At least you can say I watched the worst baseball team in history and survived. They should hand out T-shirts. It should be a giveaway. 9 years from now, they should be handing out T-shirts of "Remember the worst team in history" on fan night.
One thing I do want to mention while we're still kind of generally talking about standings, we also have the NL wild card game race, which is another tremendous collapse by the Mets.
Didn't have the worst collapse. Yes, thank you, Mets.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Astros. The Mets and the Reds are tied for the wild card. The Reds have the tiebreaker. They're playing to get today against the Brewers. So Reds win and in, and they can take that away from the Mets. And just to kind of punctuate, the slight disappointment of this season that the Royals have had, Brady Singer is pitching for the Reds today for a chance to go to the playoffs. So a little bit of a sting there that this is gonna But
I would say this, Dan.
We'll talk about that later. But
if you were to poll Reds fans about how they feel about Brady Singer having their playoff hopes in their hands today, I think you'd get mixed reviews.
Yeah.
It's not all
Brady Singer has had a good year.
Yeah.
For the Reds. Not an amazing year, not I can't believe that, he's going to finish in the top 5. He's had a solid, decent year for the Reds.
I'm looking at his baseball reference page. He has a near identical from last year. His FIP is 3.92, which is identical. His strikeout percentage or strikeouts per 9 is the same. He's up a little bit in walks, but nothing that should be worried about. And his WAR, they're both 3-win seasons. So
yeah. And Jonathan India has been about as bad as he was last year for the Reds. So.
Yeah, it's weird. Those Rookie of the Year, you can never tell what you're going to get out of Rookie of the Year winners. Either they're going to end up being MVP or just never heard from again. And I don't know. Does the NFL have that type of variance? If you have a Rookie of the Year, and do they crumble as fast as baseball players do? I'm legitimately asking.
I think because there's an offensive and a defensive Rookie of the Year in the NFL, defense is a lot more if you just have the raw talent and you're a defensive player in the NFL, it's a lot easier to kind of sustain that. And then for the offensive Rookie of the Year, it's usually either a quarterback or a wide receiver who may or may not, end up being good. So
either way. let's just talk about the playoff race. I think today we only really have one series recap to go over. We also, all the games started at 3 o'clock today. I'm assuming that's by design by MLB. So if something interesting happens, we're just going to switch over because Savant just came out with a Vizcast, which is actually kind of cool to watch. So, I mean, it doesn't help if you're listening to this on audio, but we might just pop in there if something interesting happens. So look out for that. But in the meantime, we have a real life playoff situation. The Tigers and the Guardians are basically flipping between 3 and 6. Lee did put out the playoff scenarios, but I'm gonna guess this is probably what the playoffs are going to look like.
That's just the most likely scenario. Tigers could end up being the 5 seed if both the Tigers and Guardians win today. But given our lineup and the fact that the starting pitcher is Chris Paddock, I am not optimistic that we're going to win this game. Andy Ibanez is starting at first. Okay, this is going to be a battle of which team is most hungover or least hungover.
And since Tarek Skubal basically committed vandalism, he might be in jail. We don't know. Cannot confirm or deny. For those who didn't get that, Lee, why don't you tell that story? Because I guess out of context, we know that.
Yeah, so I guess in the locker room celebration after clinching the playoffs yesterday, there was just a tweet from, I think it was Evan Woodbury, that Tarek Skubal is trying to fix this exit sign that's came unattached from the low ceiling of the visitors clubhouse. So don't know how that fell down, but sorry, Red Sox, your visiting clubhouse now is soaked in champagne and has a broken exit sign.
I would like to think, just like kids in like middle school, when you have that overhang that everyone jumps to touch, they did that with the exit sign, and it was Skubal, the one that actually brought it down.
I mean, frankly, I would have to imagine that Fenway is like on the National Register of Historic Places. That is true.
So, exactly. Which is why I think that Mr. Skubal vandalizing an over 100-year-old building is unconscionable. And quite frankly,
precisely.
If he's not in Guantanamo by say Tuesday,
Guantanamo, wow, I'm taking this seriously.
I don't know that justice still exists. Quite frankly,
at the very least, he should at least have to complete all like 70 hours of community service this week. Right?
Yes,
I think that's pretty much fair.
That sounds fair.
Hey, we don't know that he broke it. He was the one trying to fix it. Okay.
Well, yeah, but who else would fix it? The person guilty of breaking.
Possession is 9/10 of the law, there, Lee. So.
Hey, you have no proof.
Criminal. He literally held the exit sign. He was fixing the. There's your proof.
Yeah, he was fixing it. He wasn't. He didn't break it. He was fixing it.
Seems fishy. Anyway.
No, honestly, before. No, I'll save it for later. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to. I want to turn course here. I want to turn course here and give Mr. Skubal his flowers because on Wednesday night, something we'll talk about when we get to the series recap. Tuesday night when he pitched, he struck David Fry in the face with a baseball at 99 miles an hour. From what I understand, Mr. Fry is upright. He has his senses about him and is going to be generally fine. He's got a facial fracture as well as his broken nose. But what I'm getting at here is that situation allowed for David Fry to go on the IL. When David Fry was placed on the IL on Wednesday, the Guardians recalled Jonathan Rodriguez. Jonathan Rodriguez has not been a particularly good ball player this year. He's hitting about 160. He's passive at the plate, walks, but it's because he's passive. However, on Saturday night, Jonathan Rodriguez hit 4th for the Guardians and blasted a 2-run home run over the center field fence. That was the difference in the ball game. So I want to actually thank Tarek Skubal because without him striking David Fry in the face, Jonathan Rodriguez doesn't hit a 2-run home run, and perhaps the Guardians don't win last night. So,
between Sam practically dancing on the man's hospital bed when we were streaming, and you thanking Skubal for injuring him, what the? David Fry is going to send us a very angry letter.
Quite frankly, David, I hope you're doing well. You're actually one of my favorite players on this team. You were great, great contributions both these years. But I want to thank Tarek because he might have handed the Guardians the AL Central Division last night. So
it's very kind of him.
Thank you very much.
Lee, do you have a retort?
Not to mention,
no. Okay, well,
What can
sorry,
I
just cut off.
What am I supposed to say to that?
I would like some remorse for
Tarek
hitting a man in the face.
Tarek Skubel's a menace. He's committed aggravated assault.
Saying, thank you for hitting this man in the face.
He's
Jonathan Rodriguez.
vandalizing historic buildings. He's
found guilty on wearing pants incredibly much too tight.
He's been given several tickets by the fashion police. He's this he needs to be stopped.
I'm embarrassed for him. I mean, really.
I would like to sue the Rangers for throwing on purpose and purposely hitting CJ Kafis or in the arm. That was on purpose, and they did it.
Forgive me, but I forget his name. But he was very upset he did that last night.
Yeah, he was.
No, they were just trying to make sure the Astros stayed out of the playoffs. That was intentional. I'm suing for slander and emotional heartbreak.
I don't think Kafis minded. Like it didn't seem like
the Rangers are playing for the same thing that the Royals are. Right. Winning record. So
to be fair, Kafis tried to get out of the way, but that was thrown at him. Like I think he actually backed into it, if anything, in his like.
I mean, not for nothing. If you were going to picture in your mind a beanball and it wasn't at the hip, that's where it hit him right in between the letters on the back. Like it's where if you're going to intentionally hit a guy, that's the second place you hit him. So
Lions are pissing me off here. Yeah, I guess you don't know. The Lions and the Browns are currently playing because, we didn't need any more Detroit-Cleveland stuff.
Anyway, we'll talk about more Tarek Skubel being a menace later when we talk about the last series, but we kind of have one coming up in your bit. So I just want to go over the playoff standings. Well, projected playoff standing. These can change within a little, maybe flip Kansas City or Cleveland and Detroit, but Toronto is getting a bye. So looks like
probably they have to win the AL first.
So yeah, Blue Jays have to win or the Yankees have to lose, and if that happens, they will be the number 1 seed. Okay. And I believe the Mariners are locked into the number 2 seed.
Yeah, the only one on the AL side that's locked is Mariners at 2.
Yeah. So Mariners in at 2, then you can flip either Toronto and New York will be playing Boston. Well, I guess you really can't, but right now it's slated for New York and Boston and then Cleveland and Detroit. I'm going to guess if we can probably assume that Detroit and Cleveland are going to be playing each other later this week or whenever the playoffs do start. But Lee, why don't you go over the playoff scenarios for today?
Yeah. So if both teams win, Guardians will have the division in the 3rd seed. And then the Tigers will actually be the 5 seed because they will have the tiebreaker over the Red Sox. Then the Red Sox will play at Cleveland. Detroit will play at either the Yankees or Toronto. Am I insane for preferring to play the Yankees over the Guardians for the 3rd time in 3 weeks? Because, man, I'm so sick of playing the Guardians.
I guess I would rather play the Yankees for 3 than the Guardians for 5. No, I guess I'd rather play the Yankees than the Guardians for 5.
Well, seeing as how Judge is the James Harden of MLB, I would much rather play the sloppy team who can't get it done in the playoffs than the Guardians.
3 weeks ago, we just beat them. We outscored them like 26 to whatever. Like, I don't know. Anyway.
This is not a Yankees. They're a good team. They're going to make the playoffs. They have 90+ wins. This is still a very good Yankees team, but this is a pretty flawed Yankees team. If they're not hitting home runs, their pitching is pretty suspect. It's not. I don't think
they're a disaster.
They're sloppy. I think sloppy is the right word for the Yankees.
That's all well and good, but who has the best run differential in the American League?
Right.
The Yankees hit 15 home runs a week. I mean,
but I would we're at the point now where run differentials don't matter. Like we're in the like I understand like what you're saying, Dan, and I agree with you during this entire season. The Yankees are scary. They're still a good team, but for 5, they're gonna screw something up in 5 games. Like I feel, or like even like smaller 3 games. I would feel all right with that matchup.
Yes, Browns dismissed.
I would just say that the numbers suggest that they are the best team. Ergo, even with their flaws, they would be the team to beat.
I think
I get it. They don't catch the ball they don't catch the baseball very well. They don't run the bases very well. They are a flawed team, so that can be exploited for sure.
Right, but I mean, their entire lineup can hit a home run, and they're still a scary lineup. But yes, I agree with
That's
that.
the strategy.
I feel
Lugging
like
everybody to death.
I feel like the Guardians are just the Tigers' weakness. Like they're our kryptonite. I don't know. We cannot beat this team. So I would prefer to play. The Guardians are, no offense, the worst team in the playoffs right now, and I would by far not want to play them over anyone else.
Well, let's talk about that because I may have looked on StatHead, and let's look at some head-to-head comparisons between the Guardians and the Guardians in Detroit this year. Cleveland is 8-5. Up in this top corner here, you can see the batting has not been great for either side. Cleveland's OPS is 628, and if you think that's bad, Detroit has an OPS of 585 this year against each other in head-to-head matchups.
Oof.
I would have predicted that they were low-scoring games, but that's pretty pathetic offense or great pitching. The pitching on the bottom half here, little as you would expect, it's the reverse, but also pretty identical. Exact same strikeouts per 9, basically the same walks per 9, home runs per 9, hits per 9, whip. They're pretty identical teams. Even though one team is 8-5, it's up until the last 2 weeks, Detroit probably had the tiebreak, or no?
We would have had, until the last 2 weeks, we were up 4-3.
Yeah. And
not exactly the Grand Canyon in examples of chasms between teams.
No.
Yeah.
But what's weird,
we can't beat them. It's
the weird thing, if you're just talking about this year's head-to-head matchups, the pitching is a tie, and Cleveland has like a 40% advantage in OPS. So Cleveland has the better offense in head-to-head matchups, which is weird because the Tigers have had the best offense in the division.
They just get
the
bloop singles that we can't field. It's ridiculous. This team just turns into paper mache people. They can't do anything against this team. They can't field, they can't hit, they just completely fall apart.
Let's look at who falls apart, because the OPS leader for the Detroit hitting against Cleveland, Torkelson, is your OPS leader, followed by Jahmai Jones, who I think just was he one of the heroes in the last game? The last game of the series? I'm going to guess
he hit a leadoff home run.
But on that, it gets pretty mediocre real quick. Javi Baez, and I'd like to see did he even play in last week's series?
Yeah, he had an RBI single in the last game.
Did he? Okay. Yeah. I just didn't see it, so I'm genuinely asking that.
I think he got, he and Sweeney have been splitting pretty evenly. I have a whole thing about the shortstop situation. It's a mess, but don't think about it too hard.
Throw in Kerry Carpenter, and that's every player above 700 OPS. And I'm pretty sure a league-wide OPS is somewhere in like the 720, 730. So only like 2 players are comfortably above league average OPS against Cleveland. Detroit, CJ Cave has only played 4 games, but he's a Tigers killer. Jose Ramirez, as you would expect. My new favorite player on the Guardians, Petey Halpin, just poked his head in and now has 1,000 OPS. And then freaking Stephen Kwan and then Bo Naylor are all above 700. So that's just kind of fun. Don't know what to really take out of that. Does that seem to track with both of you in the mind, what you just saw?
I don't know who the hell Petey Halpin is when he played 2 games, so he's a non-factor. But yeah, those guys, yeah.
What's really stuck out to me is Angel Martinez, who had a fantastic series, really 2 series. And so him being kind of in my mind is a bit of a Tigers killer in this last week. That tracks. And then, as I've documented on this show before, Bo Naylor, for whatever reason, is phenomenal against the AL Central and not good against anybody else. So
it's got to just be reps, right? Like playing the pitch, just the pitching.
I genuinely don't know how to explain that. I really don't.
Yeah. Anyway, do we just want to talk about the series? We've kind of flirted with it.
The last. Let's go there.
So, Cleveland and Detroit going into this series. Why don't we talk about that? Because Lee has been hinting at this, and I think all of us are. I'll put myself in this. I was skeptical that Cleveland was ever going to catch up because I think in September 5th, they were like 10 games out of first place. 11 games out of first place. And it seemed almost impossible that Cleveland would actually come back. And then Cleveland went on how many game winning streak, Dan?
10, I believe.
Yeah. And then
winning streak.
And ended up being like 13 out of 14. And the Tigers did pretty much the opposite until we came down to this series where Detroit was up a game. Go ahead, Sam.
I was just going to say, Dan at one point, I don't remember at what point it was, but previous to those 6 games between the Tigers and the Guardians, Dan made the statement that the Guardians were going to win all 6 games. And I said, oh, come on, Dan. That's not, this isn't going to happen. That's not going to be. Well, it wasn't. But
it was damn near close.
Damn if it wasn't close, because the Guardians won the first 5 and then lost by 2. So I think the biggest thing for me is, like, as much as it's fun with all this chaos that's happened, one, it made the end of the season a lot more fun. 2, I feel a lot better about what happened because the Astros also had their collapse. And I think part of it is maybe a little bit the sports gods, Lee, saying you have to pay for what happened last year with the Tigers.
Plus, the Lions are doing good, therefore other teams must do bad. That is the law. You can't have too many sports teams doing too well at the same time. But
you're still, after all that, you're still in the playoffs.
Thank God.
Like anything can happen in the playoffs.
Yeah. It's I just had a thought. It's like someone I saw on Twitter made the comment. It's like last month September and this month September swapped in terms of like team expectation production.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know which September I hated worse, last year or this year. Both are pretty depressing for Minnesota, so I'm happy for you. But I do kind of wish, like, this should have been like what the Twins did last year during their entire collapse. They should have collapsed, but also just like squeaked into the playoffs. And nope, they just had to continue it outside of a 13-game win streak this year. And then just, sold the entire team. Not literally, because that would be too nice, but they sold 46% of the
Lions are killing me. J-Bo dropped a pass on 3rd down, and then we turned it over on downs. What? Sorry,
Aren't they up like 3 scores?
10. They're only up 10 points.
Oh, well, they'll probably lose. Anyway, this series.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hey, the Packers were up 10 against the Browns last week, and
and then they lost.
They lost. So
I know I don't want that. Okay, there's 15 minutes left in the game. Yeah, we could have just gone for the field goal, man. It was 4th and 2, but all right, sorry.
So anyway, we have Detroit mid collapse at the start of this series, and we get to game 1. And what Lee and Dan, you take over from here because this was fun.
So I appreciate you setting the picture here, Eric. The other thing I want to mention is the Detroit Tigers made some decisions to maneuver their starting rotation so that Tarek Skubal could, one, start this game, but also potentially start today, Sunday, in case he was needed to, because of the way things have been going. Oh no, we might not make the playoffs. We got to give ourselves the best opportunity. So this game 1 was Tarek Skubal versus Gavin Williams. Remember that, because that might come up as potentially relevant down the line here. But Gavin Williams, there's been a lot of talk about who's the Guardians' ace. Is there one? He's on the short list of guys that have been trying to fill that void. So this was a very interesting matchup to start. And right off the bat, the Tigers scored first, which was a big deal at the time. It was back-to-back doubles. There was a play that Angel Martinez didn't make on one of those doubles. He got a bad jump, and early on, close game. The Guardians have been playing a ton of close ball games. That felt like a big deal at the time. It was a 1-0 lead, getting into the fourth inning. Nobody else had scored. And additionally, there was one other play early on where I think it was in the fourth. Spencer Torkelson walked, and then Riley Green came up and hit the ball into what I call the Bermuda Triangle, which is the area between second base, first base, and the pitcher.
Yep.
And Manzardo was playing first for the Guardians that night. He's not a particularly good first baseman. He committed to come and get the ball, even though Williams fielded it, and then nobody was at first. Mm-hmm. So a walk, an infield hit that was based on field positioning, and then a Dylan Dingler walk, which only happens about as often as a full moon.
He's walked 23 times this season. I would just like to mention.
My point is, the Tigers are threatening. The bases are loaded. I think there's one out, and the ball hasn't left the infield. Consider that foreshadowing as well. Williams was able to get out of the inning. I believe he with no damage. Back-to-back strikeouts. Got out of it. No runs scored.
But Perez swings for the fences at a ball in the dirt.
Thank you very much. Williams threw more than 30 pitches in the inning, but he persevered. That takes us to the bottom of the sixth, where we've got ourselves this close ball game. It's 1-0, and Tarek Skubal he was a little shaky early. He had a couple hard hits off of him, but he had settled in, and he was looking like Tarek Skubal. Stephen Kwan leads off, lays down a bunt. Great idea. Get Skubal off the mound, moving around, get him out of his routine, and it works. Got a bunt single. The Guardians decide to double up on the bunt. Angel Martinez comes up, bunt down the first baseline. Skubal scrambles for the ball, and you've probably seen it by now. He decides that he's going to try to toss it between his legs with his back to first base to Spencer Torkelson at first. The problem is, unless Spencer Torkelson was Shaquille O'Neal, that ball was going to end up in right field, and that's exactly where it ended up.
I would like to mention that is not the first time that Skubal has tried to do that. He tried doing that against Miami 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Tarek, I'm begging you, stop trying to make these defensive plays. You're either going to get yourself injured or make errors. You're not a Gold Glove.
Please. He thinks he's playing tennis. He's trying to hit a tweener like you do in tennis.
Yeah, with racket.
I do want to, because I do want to pull up the sixth inning, because I think it's very difficult to actually, like, through words, describe just how weird this inning is. So I'm pulling up Baseball Theater here, and like it's just the start of the sixth. And feel free to still talk, Dan. But
so from there, we got men on the corners. We got men on second and third. I think Skubal's a little annoyed with himself for doing that in the first place, and then his infuriation continues as Jose Ramirez gets an infield single.
Here's
here's your toss. Go ahead.
This is like, this to me is almost inexcusable as a baseball. So you have Kwan, who just barely gets on. This is such a what the hell are you thinking play. There is no good reason ever to make that play. I don't care.
Quite frankly, if he fields that correctly and just angles his body, picks it up, throws to first, he's got a shot to get Martinez there. I don't think it's for certain, but he's got.
Problem. Sorry, I keep interrupting.
Go ahead. I was done.
Tarek he's trying to do everything for this team. Like, at this point, the team has lost 4 in a row. At that point, they had lost like 8 out of their last 9. The division lead is down to 1.5. I forget exactly what the number was at that point. He's trying to do everything. Like, he's trying to pitch. He's trying to field. He would get up and bat if he could. Like,
He's trying to play center for the Lions.
Yes.
Yeah, he's trying to do everything because the rest of this team is completely incapable at this point. Like, Torque is the only one who's playing well on this team at this point in the season, I guess, because. But they're panicking. He's trying to do everything.
Right.
It's
to
not
Dan's
working.
point, I can't stop at the exact second that he picked up the ball, but like Skubal, if we go back 5 seconds, look at where he has he had plenty of time to actually turn around and flip that, I feel. Now that Dan has pointed that out, I think that's 100% correct.
And maybe, tell me if I'm being delusional as somebody who's biased towards the Guardians here, but I think the reputation they have as a baseball team lends itself to those kinds of mistakes. They have this reputation, oh, they're pesky, they're fast, they run the base. I got to get rid of this ball now. If I don't, it's going to hurt me later. I got to, no time to kind of take my time here.
I guarantee you that this is something that Tarek Skubal has thought of, doing that between the legs play, and he's just like, I gotta do this.
Get it one time.
He's like, here's my opportunity. I'm gonna get this. This is gonna be awesome. Because like I've definitely done that while playing sports. So
it's like, oh, this is gonna be so. No, I played soccer when I was a kid. I was a goalkeeper. There were a couple times where I tried to make this really cool play instead of just making the easy play in goal, and then the goal scores.
And then that happens. What I don't. So, and I understand, like Skubal, he's trying too hard, but like, he's the best pitcher in the American League. Depending on how you feel about Crochet. Yeah, there's a guy in first and second. It's not a good situation, but if there's a pitcher you want on the mound for that situation, it's Tarek Skubal. So also, like,
you could have just held on to the ball and eaten it, and it would have been.
I think eat it was probably the correct answer, but like Dan said, there was probably a good 20 feet, 30 feet when Skubal picked up the ball. He could have thrown it, and I don't know if you know this, but Tarek Skubal can throw quite hard. I think he could have gotten the ball there pretty quick.
Yeah. Sorry, the Lions just made a punt return touchdown, so they're up 27-10 now.
No, this is going to sound like an understatement of the century.
How are the Saints down by 2 in the fourth quarter to the Bills, by the way?
Yeah, I think there was a pick 6 or like a near pick 6 earlier. I don't know. I haven't been keeping track of all of them.
Also, like Saints Bills, that sounds like a matchup that shouldn't be possible.
That's like the number 2 team against the 32 team. It shouldn't. Yeah.
Anyway, enough of that.
Sorry.
Yeah. So Jose Ramirez is up at the plate.
Ramirez here. Weeks out an infield single, just putting the bat on the ball here. And as you can see, beats it out. Everybody's safe. 1 run scored. I apologize. I misspoke earlier when I was setting the scene. I thought it was 1-0. It was 2-0. That tracks.
Yeah, Riley Green had a solo homer, I think, in the or the top of the inning, maybe.
So,
but yeah.
So run comes across. By the way, there's still nobody out.
Right.
There's still nobody out, and the Guardians are just scratching and clawing. We got men on the corners. David Fry comes up. David Fry, 2 things, and I'm glad you paused.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. 2 things. 1, David Fry has hurt the Tigers in the past. And that choice of words feels bad now. Hurt the Tigers. But David Fry has had moments in the past where he has been successful against the Tigers in big moments. That's a lot longer to say, but whatever. Game-changing home run in the Game 4 of the ALDS last year.
Yeah.
He had a safety squeeze in that same game that extended the lead.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
I thought this situation might occur. I was like, I wonder if they'll call another safety squeeze here. And lo and behold, they did. But the outcome of it, to say the least, was a lot different as this pitch strikes Fry in the face.
Right.
And I will tell you,
obviously, Skubal's not trying to hit him there, but like the pitch was up. Fry put his face where the ball was.
You put your face right there. Like, God damn, that's
a really tough situation. I've had fun with Tarek in this last half hour, and he was very much a human being in that moment, and I really appreciate that. He was visibly distraught over what had just happened, and I give him a lot of credit for that.
This was more of a topic in our Discord group than anything, because I probably took a harder stance because everyone just look at how Skubal reacts to it. Clearly not intentional, but is instantly horrified, throws off his hat, covers his mouth, my
reaction after seeing that, because I didn't see the clip because I was at work. I just saw that Eric sent the text of Skubal hit Fry in the face, that thing. And I was like, okay, maybe I didn't know if it was a hit by pitch or a bounce up at that point. And like I was at that point, I'm like, well, don't take him out. He's still gonna be better than everyone else in our bullpen. But I saw that clip and instantly, I'm like, he should have been gone because
I think they should have pulled him.
Like, he looked like he was going to throw.
Yeah, I don't.
He looked like he was ready to hurl. Like it was. That was.
Well, I don't think that's the other thing. Is part of it is Skubal. Like, yes, it had a very human reaction to the thing. But it's also like you got to realize this is an occupational hazard.
Right.
Where it's like you play a game where you essentially throw a rock at people 6 inches away from people. You throw a rock at 100 miles an hour. One time every, 10,000 times, that rock is going to hit someone in the face.
Right. And like, but I understand what you're saying about that. You don't expect that 1 out of 10,000 to happen. But also, like, there is a chance a person dies there. Like, that has actually happened in the Major League match. Like, and it's not just like the amount of pain you just caused a human being by getting hit by a 100-mile-an-hour pitch does something to you psychologically. And like, I feel like specifically if you hit someone in the head, not just like it glances off the helmet, this was in the face. I feel like that's a different category that it's really difficult to recover from regardless of who you are. And I almost feel like there should be a rule that says if you hit a guy in the face, you should be removed and then the guy can be warmed up. But like, maybe I'm just reacting based off of this.
Alternatively, I think from the athlete's perspective, I think the opposite could be also. I think it's up to the player and the individual because you guys have heard me say this a couple times now, so I apologize for being a broken record, but I think of race car drivers, and when somebody gets in a bad wreck, they typically want to get right back in the car as soon as they can because they don't want to sit with that feeling of that, just those doubts in their mind for too long. They want to get back out there. And it's a little bit different. I almost think maybe that's more Fry's perspective here than it is Skubal's, and Fry doesn't have a choice in that. He's going to miss the rest of the year.
Right.
I hope that he doesn't, first of all, I hope he's just physically okay. But beyond that, as a baseball player, I hope that he doesn't kind of develop some sort of get this over this or something. He's a really good ball player for the Guardians.
He's never going to bunt again. No.
And by the way, this is his livelihood. And that's crossed my mind where like, and I heard that maybe him and Vogt have joked since, and I kind of wonder if the joke was like, Voter, I'm never freaking bunting again. Like, don't put that sign up because I won't do it.
Not for nothing. And I understand like it had to have taken him more than just, a half second that he has. His normal reaction time to a pitch is not long. But he brought the bat like right to his face to square it up like to where the ball's going to be, and then almost froze as the ball didn't go in the strike zone and it came near him, and he just kind of froze.
This is going to sound, to be fair, nobody knows how they would react if they noticed a 99-mile-an-hour fastball coming at their mouth.
Right. I'm not saying that's not a criticism of Fry.
To me, what it looked like is he went, "Oh crap," and tried to kind of like put the bat up to like shield himself.
Yeah, because
that's what I thought.
You got like what, less than
not even a second.
To react. You're not.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
also,
fight or flight, man.
Yeah. Sorry. There was an article that I wanted to look up to check the quote, but there was an article because, apparently, according to Vogt, Fry mentioned that he quote should have used the bat instead of his face. So.
Well, there you go. There's your joke.
Yeah.
Sam didn't feel bad for joking about it anyway, but it sounds like we're joking. So anyway, by the way, Fry, generally speaking, like I said at the top, he's generally okay. A couple broken bones in the face, more to come on that. But it could have been a lot worse to Eric's point.
So
yeah, because it was right in the face.
By the way, that was not a hit by pitch. That was a foul ball because he had offered at it. So this at bat continues. George Valera comes in to pinch hit and finish out the at bat. Before we get there, though, I want to mention this again. Skubal's ball hasn't left the infield. Skubal is frustrated with himself for flipping the ball between his legs. We've scratched out a run. Now he's hit a guy in the face and feeling all kinds of ways about that now. I don't know that this guy's in the right mental space to be continuing this inning, to Eric's point. Whether he should have or not, that's up to interpretation, but there's a case to be made there.
His first two pitches to Valera, and Valera had like no chance in this at bat. Because I think it was 0-2 when he came to the box. And Skubal's first two pitches were wide. And I think they're just going to throw. So, yeah, there's.
It was immediately a wild pitch.
So
like, yeah, it
run
bounced
comes
weird
across.
off of the dirt, but
Yeah,
wild.
ball in the dirt. Not an especially poor ball in the dirt. Dingler just didn't corral it, and we've got a run across the board as the runner. I think it was Martinez was on third, comes in to score. Ramirez advances to second, and that what ends up happening is Valera ends up striking out to end this at bat.
Right.
Like Eric said, he didn't have much of an opportunity here. They're really tough, coming cold off the bench. But Gabriel Arias comes up. But before, and I'm surprised the video
They didn't
skipped
show
this.
that. Yeah, I was. Yep.
But Ramirez, very cerebral, knows what's going on with Scooble. He starts dancing on second base, bluffing moves like he's going to steal this and that, and evokes a balk out of Tarek Scooble in the process. So Ramirez gets to advance to third, and now the go-ahead run is on third. Gabriel Arias, who continually is the biggest swinging, well, him and John Kenzino are the biggest swing and miss candidates on the Guardians. Arias finds a way to get the bat on the ball. He doesn't hit it particularly hard, but he hits a ground ball to first base, which honestly, not being particularly hard, in this case, I think benefited him and gave Ramirez the opportunity to score. And the contact play works in this case, and the Guardians lead this game 3-2. Manzardo K'd to end the inning, by the way, for what it's worth. But that would be the ball game. The Guardians would add two more.
Didn't matter.
Ami Canley comes in and gets 2 outs, and then walks Austin Hedges with nobody on and 2 out.
Yeah.
And that was just a death sentence. That followed by a double by Stephen Kwan, second and third 2 outs, and then Daniel Schneemann comes in, gets a pinch hit single. Those 2 runs score. Hanley did that to himself, in my opinion.
Finnegan Gaiman gave up those 2 runs. One of them was inherited, but yeah.
My mistake.
So, okay, I have a kind of comment on this. For well, I have a few because there's lots of different things we can talk about for this game. But so weirdly enough, Scooble was only credited with 1 earned run for that because it was an error which put the guy on base, but it was his error. So I feel like that should have been attributed to him. I just thought that was a weird little quirk in the scoring. And second off, so there was a story that came out because Scooble, after the game, he hitches a ride with Vogt to go visit him in the hospital. Which okay, you're gonna say, oh, he's a really great guy. Look at what do you talk about in that car ride?
It's okay. I had the kind of the exact same reaction. Like, that's got to be a weird, like. Well, I think the baseball brotherhood thing kind of takes over, and it's not that big of a deal, probably. But I get where you're coming from on that.
Like, Vogt is a pretty young man. He was playing like 4 years ago. Like they've played against each other before.
They haven't. They're not that far separated from each other. I just is it rude to just be on your phone with earbuds in when you're on the way to the hospital to visit the guy you just put in the hospital? I don't know.
Yes. I think it is actually.
But then it's just really awkward silence, right? Anyway, I thought that was weird.
Actually, I took it as the entire all of the Tigers got into a bus and with balloons and went to go visit David Fry. That's the visual I'm sticking with. But so anyway,
it's like a scene out of The Office where they put up the "Get Well Soon" banner, and yeah.
You laughed, but that's exactly what came in my mind, and then I changed it to say the story. But yeah, because I didn't want to directly quote The Office, because every millennial does that. But Sam, thank you. I appreciate it. So that was the first game.
That was the first game, guys.
So it was a wild game.
And it was really just the 6th inning. What was wild is the Tigers just imploded all in 1 inning. And then the Guardians have tied the division.
Also, there has never been an inning where a Cy Young candidate has a balk, a wild pitch, and an error in the same inning. That's the 2nd balk of the season for Scooble. He entered the season with 0 balks, so I don't know. Was it a super obvious balk too?
I mean, Ramirez was toying with him. He was dancing around, and Scooble just happened to catch him out the corner of his eye, and then just everyone in the ballpark knew it was balk.
Yeah.
Okay, I was curious of how balky it was because
it wasn't a ticky tack.
No, I wasn't thinking. I wasn't gonna say, oh, there wasn't really a balk, but like I was
if
wondering
you watched it back, you'd be like, yep, that's a balk.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, I was just curious, but that was an insane game, and I'm at work during all this, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, just put me out of my misery. But hey, Riley Green had a really cool home run.
He did.
So
Game 2, we actually live streamed this one together, which was a lot of fun on Wednesday.
Yeah, you could watch me make bad decisions on live TV.
It's true. So, Lee had a drink.
I did, and I was trying to study for my biostats exam.
And shout out to King Fisherman, man, because he was with us, and we had a good time talking to him. If we ever do that again, you guys want to watch, come join us. It's a good time. But Game 2, Tanner Bybee versus Jack Flaherty, two guys that I think are respectable starting pitchers in this league. I'd probably give a slight edge to Bybee right now. But he was a little rocky early, gave up some hard outs, and then 3 singles with a sac fly mixed in gave the Tigers the first run of the game in the third. They led 1-0. It was, I think, Parker Meadows had that sacked fly. But that's the top of the third. Immediately thereafter, the Guardians jumped right back on the Tigers with a 2-run home run by George Valera, taking the lead. Literally 3 batters later, the Guardians had 3 hitters come up and had the lead back. I want to mention Valera real quick. 117 OPS plus in 15 games in the majors. That's obviously not a big sample, but the Guardians have gotten, contributions from across the board during this run they've gone on here in September. It hasn't just been Ramirez and Kwan and Manzaro, way some of the media would like you to think. But it's been guys like Valera and Angel Martinez and Arias and Rocchio, et cetera, who have chipped in and helped this offense kind of progress and be above average here in September. And I wasn't expecting that out of Valera. This is a guy that was a top prospect at one point, who had a bunch of injuries. And this time last year, he was in a hotel room in Arizona with a broken leg, unable to move, unable to do anything on his own, really. And he came out after he hit that home run that night and said, this was the dream. To get back to this moment and do this was something that, I was persevering for this whole year. So it's just a really cool story. And hopefully he continues to contribute. But in the immediate, just a great move to get him on the roster for September 1st. And he could continue to, help them as this kind of progresses in October. Anyway, with that monologue done, Flaherty ends up getting knocked out of the game in the 5th, and the Guardians end up scoring again here. Rocchio had a single, stole second, scored on Stephen Kwan's single. And on the opposite side of things, Tanner Bybee, although he was a little shaky early on, 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 5 Ks. Combine that with 3 scoreless from the bullpen. Jacob Junis in particular was a big factor in this one. He pitched 1 2/3. He just ran out of bullets. He gave up, I think it was a single to he gave up a single with 2 outs, and they ended up going to Cade Smith in a non-safe situation to shut it down. He got Dylan Dingler, blew him away basically, and Guards win game 2, 5-1.
Yeah, Flaherty looked fairly good. There was a couple.
He looked bad, yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty decent. He got some good strikeouts, but there was just a couple, bloop hits, and then he gets frustrated, and then but he looked good, which I'm pleased with.
The home run he gave up was a 1 out of 30 ballpark home run. So.
Exactly. Yeah,
it was also 393 feet. So it was certainly.
If you want to watch me lose my mind
by any means, but
Parker was 3 inches away from getting that because
it hit his glove. The ball.
That's right.
Yeah, the tip of his glove.
If you want to see me lose my mind again, go to I think it was the 7th, when we bring Will Vest in, and then he gives up 2 runs. Because, God, why do we keep bringing in Will Vest in innings that aren't the 9th? I'm trying to look this up, because I'm trying to see if it's an inherited runners thing, because I don't know. It's a thing with closers sometimes. They can't do it in anything other than a save situation in the 9th. I'm trying to find for his will that be splits where I can see with his inherited runner board or something?
It's just interesting because I know Hinch doesn't like to give defined roles. He doesn't like to say, this is our 9th inning guy, this is our 8th inning. He likes to be able to mix and match and play matchups and do this and that. And maybe there's something to that with Vest. I don't know if historically that's been a thing before this year, but
yeah, I'm trying to find
later in
that.
the series he pitched a ninth inning and looked pretty good. So
yeah, yeah. I'll try and find inherited runners later, but I went on a whole tangent last week about not putting him in any other inning other than the ninth. Though, I mean, Guardians have also hit him very well, so I don't. Though tiny sample size, but I don't know. I don't know what the issue is with him, but it's been a thing for all season. And Hinch, please. But Hinch has he made a joke like on the Have a Seat podcast with Benetti and Dickerson. Like the long answer, the question was basically if you had to pick 3 relievers, who would you pick? And he goes, a multi-inning left-handed reliever, a multi-inning right-handed reliever, and Will Vest. Those are that's basically because Will Vest is kind of his go-to guy. I mean, this was before we had Kyle Finnegan, so like maybe that would have changed by now. But Will Vest is kind of like he's the closest thing to a closer that Hinch will ever admit to having. Because like Dan said, Hinch doesn't like to have a defined role, but it's just kind of more of a who ends up falling in there. But I'm begging you, Hinch, stop bringing him in the 7th with the inherited runners. It doesn't work.
Any thoughts on the last game?
Yeah, I do. Real quick.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I just want to say, oh shit, sorry, we're all over the place.
Same deal here. So at this point, Guardians have a 1-game lead in the division, and I have to give Detroit some credit here. Parker Messick is by no means Tarek Skubal or Cy Young or anything, but he has been hot since he came up to the majors. He came into this game with a 2.08 ERA in his first 6 starts as a major league pitcher. He had allowed 1 home run in those 6 starts. 3 batters into this game, he had given up 2 home runs. This was also ended up being the first game. The Guardians had 19 straight games where their starting pitching had allowed 2 runs or less. That streak came apart in this game. The Tigers, with their backs against the wall, whatever other cliche you want to use, to their credit, they responded. They scored early, and really never looked back. The one thing that does kind of make me nervous as a Guardians fan, I think they're legit. I think they're a good baseball team. I think this can continue. They're not going to be very successful if they get down by more than 2 in future games. They need to keep games close. They can't fall behind early. I know that's logic. You don't want to be behind at any point in time. But them in particular, the comeback potential, I think, if it's not a close game, is not.
But I guess when was the last? And I understand what you're saying, and I'm going to double down on that point. What, especially for the Guardians, when hasn't that been true? If they're down 3 runs, they're, I don't want to say a very winnable team, but if you get down, if it's a 1-run game into the 7th, it seems like it's a much closer game for the Guardians than other teams in 1-run games, if that makes any sense.
I see what you're saying. You're saying the flip side, where if it's close, they've got a great. I mean, having a good bullpen, having one of the best bullpens in the league is going to do that for you. And so, to answer your question, I'd say at least the last 2 years that's been the case, if not longer. Messick gave up 3 home runs in total in this game, 4 runs in total over 5 innings. That game plan that I've talked about the Tigers having of kind of just having tough at bats, fouling pitches off, trying to get it finally worked. And I think they're finally starting to see some more success now that they're playing this last series of the year against Boston. But only one shot here really to get back in it. It was a 4-1 game. Austin Hedges shows up again, sparks a potential rally with a leadoff single. But Quan lines out, and Kyle Finnegan comes in, gets Schneemann to weakly ground out. Ramirez hits a double that brings in Hedges, but that's where it ends. It ends at 4-2. Kyle Manzardo got a great pitch to hit right down the middle, and he just swung and missed. And that could have drawn this game to a tie, but that was for naught. I will say that on that last pitch where Manzardo struck out, he turned back and had a conversation with the umpire. Stephen Vogt came out and talked to the umpire. There was some thought that Finnegan hadn't come set and paused before he delivered the pitch. Nothing came of that, but it was an interesting little twist in that. And then
I looked at that. I don't know what the official rule is. I'm like,
to me, it was borderline. I could have seen it either way.
Yeah, I feel like if it had gotten called, can't be too mad. If it didn't get called, can't be too mad.
Exactly.
Those.
And then the ninth inning comes around. Will Vest comes back in, and this time handles it 1-2-3, and then flexes like the Incredible Hulk as the Tigers win their first game in however long that it was that they won.
In however long.
I guess when you finally win a game, you can celebrate as hard as you want. So good for you, Will Vest. But
he kind of does that. That was a little bit a higher notch than what he normally does, but he does that. He goes like, yeah, like every.
Okay, so that was pretty normal for him. In that case, I'm not as salty about it as I was 5 seconds ago.
It was definitely dialed up a little more than usual, but he does do that pretty much every game. So,
all right.
So let me ask this, or if we're good on this recap, what Lee and Dan, outside now that you're both in the playoffs, outside of winning the World Series, what would you consider a success? Like, what would you be satisfied if my team does blank in the playoffs?
Dan, how about you go first? I feel like my answer is more complicated.
I'm not sure I have an answer yet.
Yeah, I don't know if I have an answer.
Is making the playoffs a win for you, Dan?
So this whole month has been a whirlwind. Usually, you think your team's going to make the playoffs, start thinking about and fantasizing about what that might look like, what they're capable of doing. I haven't really even I haven't thought about who's going to be on the roster very much in a couple of days. So this is all, I've been very much in the moment for this.
So Dan, why don't Lee and Dan, why don't you think of your answer, and then I guess and then Sam, do we just answer it for them and just kind of give our thoughts? Because
before we do that, can I talk a little bit about the last game? Because I do have a few things that I would like to mention. Sure. So before this, we were talking about how last week TBD was going to be the Tigers pitcher for the third game. We end up going with Troy Melton, who goes with his third. I think that was his third career start because he made 2 and then went to the bullpen. But no, fourth. Anyway, fourth career start, comes out of the bullpen. If you haven't realized already, I love this guy. He's awesome. He's a competitor, and he's going to be. He should be on the starting. He should be on the starting rotation next season. He comes out. He goes 3.2 innings. Looks great. I think he gave up 1 run, but you know what? I'll take it. He was awesome. I would not be disappointed if he starts playoff games for us. I don't think he particularly would, but I would be down for that because he's really good, I think. And Jahmai Jones with another leadoff home run. I just want to talk about Jahmai Jones again because he was a minor league, 1-year deal signing in the offseason. He was a darling of spring training. He comes up after, I think it was in May or June, but he's hit 7 home runs, I believe it is. Maybe I'll just double check that. But he's hit 4 leadoff home runs this season. He's just been amazing for us. He's not an everyday player, right? I don't want us to get a little mixed up. He has minus defense. He comes in and he hits against left-hand pitchers, and he does it very well. He has a current 937 OPS because he only plays against lefties. He's basically the contrast to Kerry Carpenter, but plays less, if that makes sense. Right, the Hinch will switch out those two a lot, yeah. But Jahmai Jones, his last 3 home runs have all been leadoff home runs. It's just a great way to start a game when you start a guy who hits a leadoff home run, right? That's just no matter how you slice it, it's a good start to a game. So I just want to give a little bit of flowers to Jahmai Jones because also yesterday he hit the 2 RBI single that scored the 2 runs and we ended up winning 2-1. So. He's been great for us. I mean, I've given a lot of the Tigers players a lot of flack for how they've played over the last month, but Jones is not one of them. He's been good. So, yeah, just wanted to talk.
I do want to say off of that, my observation about the Tigers having good at bats. That first inning at bat where he hits the home run is the perfect example. That was a long at bat. He fouled off some pitches. He worked his way in the count, and he got rewarded with hitting the ball over the fence. So that at bat is a really good example of what I'm referring to, is what I'm getting at.
For anyone who wasn't following along too on the on the screen, the Guardians are down 4-2. The Tigers are showing on the screen right now. They're up 3-1. Kansas City is up 3-1, and the Twins are still scoreless in the fifth. So,
dang, we are. Damn, how is this lineup winning?
Royals are up 3-0.
Yep. Lee, they're on the screen. If you're looking at the screen.
Yeah. No, I had Savant up, but so on the top of it, it shows all the games, and then you can click on the games. It'll show on the top of it. It still says the Tigers are down 1-0. So I was very confused.
It was pretty recent.
That's no. This is the hangover game. Torkelson is not playing. Ibanez is at first. Riley Green is not playing. This is not a winning lineup, and this is not a winning starting pitcher.
They weirdly win these games sometimes. So I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, this is which team is the least hungover. I think Tigers have an advantage there because they clinched like 3-4 hours earlier than the Guardians did. So
I know Stephen Kwan was on national TV last night with Ken Rosenthal saying he was going to get his 9 hours last night. And so I hope everybody else on the team followed his lead. So, well, I don't know.
You talk about that. The Mariners had champagne celebrations on back-to-back days earlier this week.
Well,
yeah, that's
will
right.
The Tigers celebrate if they win the division today?
I haven't seen anything that confirms that. I have to assume they would.
The Guardians, right? I'm pretty sure would.
Yeah. I have to assume that they do. So
I think
I don't know.
I think I've thought about this, Eric. What I think the answer to my question is.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
Lee,
if the panel.
Do you have an answer?
I think I do.
I think the answer that I've come up with, and I think most people on the panel will agree with this, success for the Guardians and the Tigers, I think would be beating the other one.
Fair enough. So that's all that matters.
Honestly, my answer was going to be, at this point, win a series. Hopefully more, but win a series. I think anything you can do. I think people are getting tricked by the 5 weeks or the 5 months of play with a lower record. No matter which way you want to slice it, the Guardians' overall record over 162 is going to be what it is, and it's just as good as Detroit, just as good as some of the other teams. I forget who it was earlier that made a comment. The Guardians are the worst team in the playoffs. The records don't say that. So to me,
that's right. The Mets and the Reds are. I forgot how low they are.
Anything you can, with all that in mind, anything you can do to legitimize, quote unquote, this by winning a playoff series, I think would go a long way. The way they've played, they're hot right now. They're feeling good about themselves. I think it could legitimately progress further, but to me, success is win a series, and I will be severely disappointed if they get swept in 2 games. Like that, to me, would be the opposite. Disappointment is not even winning a game.
My opinion doesn't matter on this, but I'm going to give it anyway, I guess. To me, doesn't it feel like this is already a success for the Guardians? They were not playing meaningful baseball in September 1st.
I knew somebody was going to say that, and I figured it was going to be Sam. I don't know. Do you work all this, work this hard and get this far just to flame out in 2 days? I don't think so. I think you want to
last season
keep going a little bit.
Last season, when the Tigers came out of nowhere and made the playoffs, I mean, it was different for the Tigers then than it is for the Guardians now. Because 1, the Guardians have the division. 2, first time making the playoffs in a decade for the Tigers, right? At the time, I said, I just don't want to get swept. That was my goal, in the playoffs, right? Making the playoffs was the achievement. At that point, it was just don't get swept. That was win a game. That was
Let me put it this way. If the Guardians get swept in 2 games, I'm gonna be a little upset. Making the playoffs in itself was an accomplishment. It was an accomplishment to do that. But I'd be bummed. That's a better word for it. I'd be bummed if they go out in 2 games.
That's fair. Yeah. It's different for the Guardians.
If they lose 2-1, then I'll just be whelmed, I guess.
Right.
And anything beyond that is 2 thumbs up. Like, this is fun. So that's where I'm at.
Also, for anyone curious, Lions beat the Browns 34-10. So hopefully that's a good omen.
I would say I would agree with Dan on that. Like, if the Royals were in the same situation and they made the playoffs and then got swept in 2 games, I would be bummed out. And I think for me, the biggest thing is, obviously, like, Royals made the playoffs in 2014. I was in high school, and they had that amazing wild card win against the A's. And then they played the Angels, who were the number 1 team in baseball that year. And I remember walking down the hall in high school saying to someone, I'll be happy if the Royals just win 1 game against the Angels. If they just beat the Angels 1 time, I'll be happy. Guess what? They swept the Angels, swept the Orioles, and went all the way to Game 7 of the World Series, which no one would have ever thought in a million years. So it's like, it's easy. Like, it's easy as fans to have like these little goals of like, if we just do this thing, but it's the playoffs, and you never know what's going to happen.
To that point, and I know Lee, we need to get Lee's answer yet, but 2016, Indians at the time make it to the World Series Game 7. That was the team that, like, they lost Carlos Carrasco, Trevor Bauer got his finger cut on the drone and all that. Danny Salazar was hurt. Like, all these starting pitchers were hurt and out. And it's like, oh no, are we even gonna, like, I just hope we kind of make it, win a game. And they ended up making it all the way to Game 7. And ultimately the lack of starting pitching is kind of what ended up ending them, I think, in the end. But they sure made it further than anybody expected. And I think that's your point.
Yeah. What's your goal, Lee? What would you consider success?
Okay, so bear with me. This is going to be kind of a long answer. Over the past 2 weeks, the Tigers fandom has been very unhappy, obviously, right? We had a 15-game lead in the division and blew it, right? I don't agree with this at all. There was a lot of conversation of, do you even want the Tigers to make the playoffs? Do you want them to miss entirely and do the front office has to change, etc. type of thing? A surprisingly large part of the population agreed with that. When the Tigers clinched last night, there was a large sentiment, not a majority, but a large sentiment of, I don't want to see them celebrate. We should have clinched this division a week and a half ago. I also do not agree with that. At the end of the day, making the playoffs is hard. The Tigers have existed as a franchise for 125 years. Would you like to guess how many times they've made the playoffs in that time frame?
40.
15.
18.
Okay.
They've made it 18 times. And until 370 days ago, I could count the number of times the Tigers have made the playoffs in my lifetime on one hand. Right? They have made the playoffs 7 times since I've existed on this earth. In the last 40 years, it's only been 8 times. The Tigers do not, as a franchise, are not overly successful. They do not make the playoffs a lot. Making the playoffs is an achievement. I'm going on a tangent, I know, but I want to make a point here. However, 3 weeks ago, we were talking about, if the Tigers have a bye, how do we pitch Tarek Skubal going into the break? Because they had a bye. They were in first place on September 10th. All right, and now they're probably going to be a wild card team, most likely, because Guardians have bases loaded, nobody out in the third here, and they're probably going to blue pit their way to a 6.
I do like the irony of the Guardians maybe taking the lead against the Rangers as you're talking about the Tigers being like, what success?
I think anything short of winning the wild card is a failure. They have to make the divisional round in order for the season to not be a failure, if that makes sense. Does that my answer make sense?
I think that makes sense. And I think that the fact I think after everything that's happened for you guys, the goal has changed, right?
Right.
Because 3 weeks ago, I think the answer would be, well, the Tigers need to make the World Series.
Or the ALCS, at least. I think my answer would be ALCS.
Yeah. I think, after everything that's happened, if the Tigers win a playoff series, which again, I think goes back to my point of success for the Tigers and the Guardians is beating the other team.
I think it's
now, if they don't face each other, is it advancing further than the other team?
Maybe.
I think so, yes, because whichever team wins the division is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if you're both knocked out in the wild card round, right?
But
I mean, it matters, but like functionally, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But even if, let's say the Guardians win the division, but Tigers also win today, and so they play New York/Toronto. If the Tigers beat New York/Toronto and Guardians lose to the Red Sox, the Tigers had a more successful season. Is that unfair? Am I being too biased?
No,
there?
I think that's totally fair.
Like, yeah.
If the Tigers advance further, yes. Then by definition, I agree.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make even if the Guardians win,
yes.
like it's.
The Giants beat the Chargers, so I'm excited about that.
Nice.
But anyway, I just wanted to ask that question because I think for both teams, I feel like both teams are in kind of a weird spot going into the playoffs as far as whether you consider this season a success or a failure, I think is kind of nebulous for both teams. And so I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that.
I think, and just to kind of take back, like your overall point is over the last couple of minutes was the expectations have changed specifically since September 1st. And like, I've even been thinking of like the conversations we had in April. And I think Dan would have said, well, we won the division last year. We should probably do that again this year. And I think that should be the expectation. Lee, I believe, said, we can win the division. However, I just don't want to see a backslide. Yeah. And then the season happened, and it looked like the Guardians were going to fall off the table. The Tigers were going to run away with everything. And then September 1st happens. And then, like, so we have like our expectations set of what we would like, of what we're going to see. And then September happens. And then just everything gets thrown up in the air with those two teams. So you reset your expectations. But now you're looking at the playoffs in the face and be like, well, what the frick was all this about? Like, we're in the same pot where we should have been at the start of the year. Like, it's just interesting. Do I have an overarching point for that? Probably not. I just thought it was interesting if between September and May.
I think it's the same thing I was saying earlier, where you can look at, like I said before, the 5 months of how the Guardians played is tricking people. But ultimately, when you come down to it, they've got 86, 87 wins, just like a bunch of other teams do. And they're just, by definition, they're just as good as some of these other teams, even though the 5 months body of work doesn't suggest that. But they played well enough in those 5 months to make it so that if they did have a winning streak, they ended up here. Like if they had the winning streak in June and everything was the same, then like you wouldn't have this going on. But
and like it's just really struggling with the Guardians. Because you're exactly right. It's Detroit was so much better that they were a class above the entire division.
You could say the same thing about the Tigers too, where they've got 86, 87 wins. This September isn't as bad as they really are. They ended up in this place too. And just the thing that's fresh in your mind is the not very good play of the last 3 weeks. Well, guess what? In a couple days, everybody gets set back to zero, and none of it really. Well, it matters because you're still playing. Beyond that, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like AJ Hinch said in his victory speech last night, the best time to be dangerous is October. That's everyone starts 0-0. Nothing else matters at that point.
Love it.
Well, I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. I'm gonna head out. I've got a Chiefs game to watch. Sure. Royals are up 3-0 against the A's. Reagan's is pitching the ball well, so hopefully we will close that out. And winning season, here we come. So, anyway,
before you leave, I have one who, if the Guardians and Detroit play, who are you cheering for, and who is winning?
And does your answer change if it's in Comerica or Progressive?
No, I don't think. The Guardians have all the momentum right now. And I think momentum is a real thing in baseball. And I think that if I had to pick whether or not the Guardians are going to win a playoff series, especially in, early stages, I don't want to bet against the Guardians. So I think I would choose. I think the Guardians would end up taking the wild card trophy in that series. So there's my answer.
Do not disagree. So for what it's worth.
Yeah.
All right. Have fun.
Anyway, I'll see you guys later.
See you, Sam. All right. On the screen right now, Boston has taken the lead back from Detroit in the bottom of the fourth. So who knows?
Yeah. This is not unexpected. We have Chris Paddock is going to stay out there until his arm falls off.
And it just might. Is he? Yeah, that is weird. How long was he in the bullpen? Or was he still doing multiple innings?
He was still doing multiple innings. He was going like 2, 3.
Yeah, all right. So I don't really have anything much else other than I thought we would just look at. Now, again, this is before the playoff picture is, set. And we kind of talked about it last week, but let's just talk sentimental favorites. We know who you two are cheering for, and I will be cheering for the Central teams because why not? But if the playoffs started today, these are the teams that are in it: Toronto, Seattle, Yankees, Boston, Cleveland, Detroit. I don't know if we want to do March Madness style, like pick your bracket, or if we just want to say I would like this team to do well or not do well.
I want any team other than the Dodgers, or the Yankees, or the Red Sox. Those are the teams I don't want. Anyone else, I'm like, yeah, all right, fine, sure. Even the Guardians, I'm like, okay, all right. Like if the Guardians beat us and go play Seattle, I will be angry. I will be upset. I will hate it. But I also will be. I hope both teams have fun. So, because I like Seattle, so I'm not going to root against Seattle.
There's no reason not to cheer against Seattle, other than if they're playing a Central team, which looks like they might.
Probably that is the most likely scenario to occur.
That Seattle seems like the most, now not like geographically, but the most like central-ish team. Like just like a team that hasn't been a lot of success, but like they had their high points, they have their low points. They just seem like they would fit in very well with the AL Central. Also, the Blue Jays I feel like are in the same boat too.
Well, to that point, Toronto has their team president is Mark Shapiro, who was the team president of the Indians before Chris Antonetti. Miles Straw, Andres Jimenez, Shane Bieber, Ernie Clement, all former Cleveland players. So my allegiances, if the Guardians drop out of this thing, are with Toronto for that reason. I'd like to see all them guys be successful. So that's my answer overarching. To that point, similarly, Josh Naylor's on Seattle now. That'd be pretty cool to see him win one, even if it's not with the Guardians. And then Terry Francona in Cincinnati and the job he's done out there to get his team into that position. No hard feelings there with Terry. I don't know exactly what happened for him to have a 1-year retirement, which is kind of odd in retrospect, but it's really cool to see him being successful again. So those are the teams I'd look for. And really, I have to say, other than the Yankees and the Red Sox, there aren't a lot of teams here that I have a distaste for. The Mets dropping out to me is a big deal.
Mets could still
be a small. I know they're not dead yet, but there'd be another small victory to me to be able to sit in October and watch my team play in the playoffs. Well, I only get to see Francisco Lindor on Corona commercials and not playing baseball games in October. So
I will also be glad because it means the Tigers don't have the most embarrassing fallout, because it means the Mets and their $330 million payroll do not make the playoffs. So that'd be nice. Yeah, I mean, all the National League teams pretty much, except for the Dodgers. I'm like, yeah, okay. The Brewers, I like the Brewers. However, I don't want Packers fans to be any more smug than they already are. So a little bit against the Brewers, but I like the Brewers. It's the same fan base, so it's a.
We were talking about teams that are AL Central, like Milwaukee.
Yes, they are.
That's, to me, that's another team that I'd appreciate seeing go pretty far.
Yep.
I can't root against Ohtani, even if he's a Dodger. I can't bring myself. That doesn't bother me.
For being a super team, the Dodgers do have very likable players.
There's two different things. The Dodgers, while they do throw money around, are also incredibly well run in other facets.
I just don't like one team winning too much.
They develop really well. I don't harbor the same grudges for them as I do the Yankees and Red Sox. I just think it's a little different.
Yeah, I know why I don't like the Red Sox. Why don't you like the Red Sox? What do you have against?
They're just the Red Sox. They're the coastal team that's too big for their britches. I don't like it.
Very fair.
They went from lovable underdogs to just juggernauts way too fast. Like, I don't like
media Red Sox fans annoy me almost as much as Yankee fans do, because Red Sox are always like, "Oh, we're so long suffering. How this is so tough. We've had it so hard. You've won 3 World Series in the past 2 decades. Chill the F out."
There is one other point I want to make here, and to answer that, like, to do a stupid joke, the lamestream media loves Boston or whatever. That's part of why I don't like the Red Sox. But
very fair.
Looking at these matchups, there is no way in the world that if we get Guardians Tigers, that game is going to be on at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
With all these other matchups going on, Boston, New York, Los Angeles, San Diego, Chicago, like, we are guaranteed to be the earliest game possible. Like, I'm going to have to mute Discord again and just watch the games after the fact.
I have no way to watch if it's a 1 p.m. game, because that's the time that it is going to be. I have no way to watch it. I can't watch it because I can't watch the whole thing uncensored, unfiltered, or unspoiled or whatever. Because if a game starts at 1 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have a class that starts at 2:30 and runs till 5, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays I have work that starts either 7 or 8. So there's no 3-hour time frame where I can sit down and watch the whole game. So either way, I'm screwed. Like Wednesdays, I can do it like after class if I somehow shield myself from the internet and don't be spoiled. But either way, I'm going to be in class during these games. So thanks a lot. That's why part of another reason. Let's play the Yankees, because then we'll be playing at 6 instead.
and quite frankly, I don't know what'll happen with these teams if we don't get that Detroit-Cleveland matchup, because like everybody's got a hook then. Like, these are all the big market teams. Like, I imagine New York will end up being.
I'll say New York ain't playing at 3. I will tell you that.
Yeah, like I imagine that'll be the case, but beyond that, who knows?
The AL Central versus Seattle is the most 1 p.m. time if there ever is one.
Not 1
except
PM,
for
Seattle.
Pacific Coast.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
So it'll end up being a 4:00 game. But yes, you're logic.
Do you guys think that the year that the season was delayed because of the lockout, these series were played over the course of a weekend? Is it a miss for the league to have this on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? This short series, high intensity. This to me feels like a miss in terms of. Now you could argue it would be up against college football and the NFL. I guess that would be the argument against it. But to me, I don't know. I could see it either way.
My problem is the day games. Just start all the games at 7 p.m. I don't give a shit if I can't watch the Yankees Red Sox series at the same time. I just want to watch my team at a reasonable time.
It's missed revenue,
even though I can't because I have work. But like,
it's missed revenue for baseball. They will not do that.
That's the problem. But they should. That's like the most logical in terms of like the fan experience. Just have all of them be night. Just have all of them be at night, because that's. Come on.
Sure. I'm indifferent on the schedule because like if I'm a fan, I'm gonna watch it anyway. So like, and like this might be much more of a bigger picture or like debate more than anything, but baseball has been so regionalized throughout its entire history, and it's gonna be, I mean, at what that years, decades before that kind of breaks. I know Manfred is gonna try to team up, like package all 30 teams and sell that package. Even when that happens, I still think you're going to have 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock games because the only until baseball gets more traction nationally, you're going to have to look at the local markets and just try to play to them, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah. What part of playing the Tigers Guardians game at noon on a Tuesday plays to those local markets? I guess what you're saying is they don't care about those markets. They care about New York and Boston and LA.
Basically, they're going to play to the bigger markets and where they can get the most eyeballs on.
Yeah.
Got one thing that's still.
Why do the Cleveland and Detroit fans have to suffer for that? Like
smaller markets, baby. They should.
Like this is my stance is what Lee was saying. Play both games at 7. The New York people can all watch the New York game at 7. Because the Cleveland people and Detroit people aren't watching the Yankees game at 7, that's going to move the needle? I don't think so.
I guess their argument would be you would have, why are you splitting your own viewership? Get what you can from the earlier game.
If the sport is really regional, then you're not.
Sure. But there's just more eyeballs and you get more casual fans with bigger markets. Just what, like, I guess. I'm not saying I don't disagree with either of you.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I get why from a revenue standpoint of don't have all the games at the same time. But also from a fan viewpoint, it's way more, even as a neutral, it's way more fun to watch 4 games at the same time than it is to watch one and then one of them overlaps for an hour. And then the second one.
Yeah.
It's just more fun to have.
I agree.
It's just more fun to have multiple games on at the same time. Like, that's just cool. Like, that's why Red Zone is such a huge thing, because you want to watch all the games, so you watch them all at the same time. Like, because why MLB Big Inning is a thing. Like, yeah. All right.
No, I think that's completely fair.
I have one other thing we can talk about real quick that I thought of.
Yeah.
AJ Hinch is definitely not the manager of the year at this point, right?
I would be against it. But
when did they put in when did the BBWA put in their submissions? Because if it was 2 weeks ago,
I think it's the end of the season. I don't think they have to until the end of the season.
I kind of feel it almost has to. Well, it's probably going to be the who manages the Seattle.
But it'd be Stephen Vogt for the second year in a row.
Again, right?
I would make an argument.
But AJ Hinch didn't get it last year when he did basically the same thing as Vogt's doing this year. Like,
think of all the points of deviation we had here. Never had Thomas all year. Didn't have Fry. Having your all-star closer be removed from the team in July and not having him anymore. Like, to me, there's a lot of places that this season could have gone left the way that a lot of people expected it to, and it never did. So I get your point, Lee. Like, that's a good point. That, like,
I'm going to be annoyed if they give it to Vogt again, because Hinch did basically the same thing last year, and he got third. And so
it'll probably go either to John Schneider in Toronto or Dan Wilson in Seattle. But I would expect Vogt to at least get some votes, maybe third place. But I can't anticipate that Hinch will get very much at this point.
No, probably not. He could have 3 weeks ago.
He probably would have won it if.
Yeah. But hey, last year someone gave Rocco a first place vote. So last season.
Really?
This is an underrated point. So Buxton. So thank you for bringing that up. Buxton has, for the first time in his career, gotten with his team friendly deal that he signed, that 7-year, $100 million extension he signed a couple years ago. He had some performance bonuses for 502 plate appearances, 533, which I think he got either yesterday or he got today. So he's getting an extra $1 million, or $500,000 from each of those. But if he gets in the top 10 of MLB of MVP voting, he gets $3 million.
Nice.
And I think it would just take one Twins beat writer to whoever has the MVP vote just to put him third, and I'm pretty sure that would lock him in the top 10. So I don't know who for the Twins got the MVP vote for the beat writers this year, but please do Judge and Raleigh. I don't care what order you do that, but put Buxton third just so we can get his $3 million. Not that I care, but like I kind of care.
Good for Buxton. Like to have, I know this wasn't a good year for the Twins, but he was healthy nearly all year. I know he missed a little bit of time, if I'm not mistaken, but it's just, it's good a guy of that caliber was able to put a season together like that one. That doesn't happen very often.
It's all we have right now. Worrying about.
Since you asked about Hinch, there was a story that came out yesterday of Hinch is expected to be signing a contract extension for the Tigers. It was supposed to be signed 3 weeks ago, but they kind of held off on that just because it looked really bad. I don't think it would have changed, like, giving him an extension or not, but, like, you don't want to give the guy an extension while in the middle of a...
I'm going to guess, like, with how those contracts, I'm going to guess he signed it. They just said he
didn't, like, announce it.
They just didn't announce anything.
Yeah, probably. But I just wanted to bring that up because it was...
What do you think was the motivation for Mr. Ilitch traveling along with the team for the last week
so he could celebrate with the team when they clinched a playoff spot.
But even when he was in Cleveland last week?
Yeah, because, I mean, I think at that point it could have happened. Like, because if they had swept Cleveland, they would have clinched the division.
All right.
So,
I was kind of I was of the exact opposite mind where, like, things aren't going well. The boss is in town to try to figure out why kind of thing.
I mean, I'd like to think that, but I would
probably
like
not
to think that, but yeah, but it's cool that he was there. That's
hey, Paul Sewald.
Oh yeah, look at him
coming in.
Yeah. Oh, I want to point out Javi had a 3-run homer, so if he's getting hot, that would be awesome.
See, Baez. So like I know we just showed it on the graphic. There is a possible 2016 World Series rematch in the books.
There is.
Cubs did make, and it would be kind of fun if Javi Baez now goes to Detroit, or I guess this wouldn't be a rematch with the Guardians, but like let's just say Baez makes it with Detroit and he plays hero for the other team. That would be kind of fun.
That would be kind of fun.
An actual 2016 World Series rematch could happen too, though, Eric.
It can, yes. And that's where I was originally going. And then I was like, oh, crap, right player, wrong team. I was like, nope, he's not for the Guardians. Because,
but Javi could be there, too.
But about Javi, he made a game-saving play yesterday, too. It was runners on, 2 outs. Single, it hit into left, kind of going towards left. And he makes a great, diving play to get the out and save the runs. So we ended up winning by 1, and that would have scored at least 1, probably 2. So, I mean, look, say what you want about his offense, but if we wouldn't be talking about his offense as much if our other option at short wasn't Trey Sweeney, right? If he was just the backup shortstop / utility guy, because he still has amazing defense. Like, right? Like, he doesn't need to be awesome at the plate. It's just the problem that he's the best offensive option at the plate for shortstop. We don't have anyone else.
The other component of that is that's a lot of money to spend on a backup shortstop / utility.
Right. Whatever. And there's no cap. It's fine.
I mean, at this point, like that contract's already a wash. You had a fun 3 months earlier this year with it. Like
exactly. Yeah, it was Javi has now hit 3-run homers against Boston. Hilariously.
Wow.
Yeah, because he had 2 in the walk-off game. Earlier this season, one today, so that's a really weird stat. But yeah, and it was really nice because Javi didn't get to celebrate with the team last year when they made the playoffs, and there were a lot of jokes of, "Oh, Javi Baez is injured, and the Tigers got good," right? Which was kind of true, but also not true at the same time, right? So but it was nice. He got to celebrate with the team, and like he was the first player interview after they did the champagne and everything. So, and he really is. He is a clubhouse leader. Like we the team doesn't have a lot of veterans and stuff, but like the team loves him. Like he's a great clubhouse guy. So I think that's worth mentioning.
I don't know if you specifically had trepidation about the Tigers not having a lot of veteran leadership, but I think that's reared its ugly head here in September. I think that's a component of this. And I will also say, you could point to Glaber as a veteran in that. I wouldn't look at Glaber as like a veteran leader. That's just my opinion. I don't know that he particularly plays the game
yeah, I
the
don't know.
right way, for lack of a better way of saying it. I don't really want to use that phrase, but like he's a lazy defender, man. Like he doesn't run out balls to first. Like that's not the guy I would sign because I want to like help the young guys along. It's the only point. He's a good ball player. He hits well. He'd look great in the Guardians lineup. I'm not saying anything against him in that manner, but I wouldn't look to him to throw younger guys away. Is the only thing I'm trying to say.
I mean, because who would be there? In that, you have Baez, who has a World Series ring. You have Flaherty, who has a World Series ring. Hinch has one, but probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
He's got the experience that went along with it,
Right.
though. I wouldn't take that from him.
They're a young team with a couple of veterans, but yeah, they gotta figure it out. Like
there's a post on Reddit that was like, it was from a Guardians fan who was basically like, he was asking something about the Tigers, about like, oh, why don't you have any veteran leaders? Why aren't there? It was a weird post because it was like, why aren't there any?
Was it stupid?
No, it was okay, stupid, good. But he wasn't trolling. It was like he was like, why aren't there any fun stories about the clubhouse and the Tigers? Because we got this really cool story about the Guard. I'm like, well, the Guardians are all the way up. The Tigers are in free fall. Like, they're not going to, one of those is going to sell.
To answer that guy's question, the Guardians purposely go out of their way. Like, they think team chemistry matters to the degree. Like, that's why Hedges is on the roster. Like, by the way, I've said it all year. To that point, I think September doesn't happen if you don't foster that kind of culture for the entirety of the season to begin with. I really think there's something to that.
My point was, like, because he was like, oh, but Jose Ramirez is a big clubhouse leader because he's like telling players to do this, and I'm like, okay, position player wise, the guys who have been on the Tigers team the longest are Torque, Green, and Baez. Okay, they've only been on the team since 2022. The guys who've been on the team the longest are Mize and Skubal, and they've been there since 2020. Jose Ramirez has been on that team since 2014 or 2013. Like, it's a very different situation in terms of, like, age of this team, right?
That's just one of those. I think what I'm trying to get at is that's one of those things that you don't realize. Like, a while back, we were having the ownership discussion, and Eric made a comment to me of like, Dan, you don't get it. Your team actually follows through on the part where they actually play well after they payroll or
after
whatever.
they tear everything down.
They're actually very like competent and stuff. And I'm like, oh, you're right. I never really thought about it that way. This is one of those, that guy has never thought of, like, again, the Guardians go out of their way to have good clubhouse guys, good chemistry. And so, like, what do you mean you don't have all these cool stories about how, like, Stephen Quanon goes and plays chess with kids at John Marshall High School, or like Jose Ramirez being a jokester in the clubhouse, or Austin Hedges just being an incredibly fun guy. Like, What do you mean that doesn't happen? Like, no, not every team values that stuff the same way.
Well, it's not even valued. It's only like Detroit has now just opened up this competitive window last year. Cleveland has been doing this they've been competitive for the last decade. Like, it's going to take time for, like, you don't just crap out crap out a leader. Like Tarek Skubal, you would think it's going to be the on-field guy. He just needs to go to a few postseasons and prove it. And that's when you're going to have your cute stories coming out. The Tigers have been pretty terrible up until 2 years ago, and it's really hard to be like hey, look at this really fun clubhouse story when you're not a great team.
You're right.
There's been a couple really. Sorry.
My answer to that is the Tigers could make the decision that we're going to go find this vet who has been through it before. I was reading this a while back. 2016, Jose Ramirez spent most of his days with Mike Napoli, playing cards in the clubhouse, all this other stuff. Napoli rubbed off on Ramirez. The Guardian Indians at the time went out and signed Mike Napoli, in part because he could hit 30 home runs and hit fourth for them, but also because of his ability to, foster a clubhouse. And so the only point I'm trying to make is you can invest in that sort of thing. And I'm sorry, Glaber's going to be the example here. But instead, the Tigers decided to go out and give $10 million or whatever it was to a guy who doesn't
15.
Run out balls to first, and who is lazy in the field.
But to be fair, Glamour's defense is much improved from where it was last year.
And that's not to rip on the Tigers for that decision necessarily. They made a value decision. They decided the offense is worth it. We'd rather have that than these ancillary things that we can't measure. That's fine. The only point I'm trying to make is I do think Cleveland does have that in mind when they make their decisions. It can work out.
I get what you're trying to say. I kind of disagree because Hinch has talked about for a long time that they are trying to build a good clubhouse environment. Like he said, I'm trying to build a place where people want to spend time at the batting cages, right?
I think my point is the organization in Detroit, and now I'm definitely speculating, but they're going, okay, AJ, up to you, figure it out. Whereas with Francona always had dudes in the clubhouse he could rely on. Ahmed Rosario was one. Napoli was one that I was just mentioning. Like there were a few lieutenants of his that he always had around. And I think they've continued that with Vogt. Hedges obviously is the prime example now.
Yeah, and I guess
just come with.
And I guess Dan, where I kind of feel like I get your point, but where I disagree is and I've kind of already said it. The Guardians have been a good team over the last decade. Like the Tigers are just starting this off. So I feel like it's a bit harsh to be like, why don't they have this tremendous leader? They've been good for 2 years now and they're spending, they're investing in getting that culture turned around. And yes, they're going to spend money on the good players rather than, because like having an Austin Hedges is great for the clubhouse, the leadership. That's fine. But he's a fringe player that you can afford as a luxury for a captain-like player. The Tigers just needed to get better. You can find the captains like after your team is set.
And the point I'm making,
that secondary.
The point I'm making is Napoli hit fourth and was a leader. Like you don't have to choose one or the other. The point you didn't necessarily have to get a guy that's only a leader. That's not what I'm saying. But I get what you're saying. They haven't had the opportunity to cultivate their own leadership. My point is, if they wanted to speed up the process, you could go find a guy in free agency that they tried.
I would argue the Twins
were going to give Bregman $120 million. Bregman just didn't want to play in Detroit.
That's a fantastic point. That's a great example. I also think Old Man Morton was maybe an attempt at that, but he just didn't have it anymore.
I'll even throw another name. The Twins signed Carlos Correa, who also had the leadership capability. And that went the opposite way. They gave him the handful of the bag full of money, and it's still he still had leadership. I don't think anyone's going to question his leadership when he signed the contract. You might have questions about it now because he certainly has played better for the Astros, but maybe, that's not even a critique on Correa. He's just played better for the Astros when he did in Minnesota. Maybe he just plays better, and his leadership style plays better when the team is more competitive, where he can where his impact can be bigger rather than he's not good in what's a good example? He's not a good wartime general. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's a good wartime general. He's not a good things are going terribly, let's build this back up type. Let's rebuild the Army general.
It wasn't the cliche there is it wasn't a good fit.
Right.
The relationship fit wasn't right.
Right.
And I get that.
I could go on for 20 minutes about the whole Carlos Correa beginning and end, and it's probably. I mean, if there's a book written on this time for the Twins 20 years from now, the last 3 years are certainly going to be more than a chapter of it. But
if anyone wants them free Schadenfreude, remember when the Twins were building down and breaking apart. They tell Correa, you deserve to go on a team that's going to win, and he goes to the Astros, and they're not making the
and they're falling
apart. I think if there's anything we can agree on here at the AL Central Rundown, it's that we're all happy Houston didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm all right with it.
Remember, the Astros playoff run ended by the AL Central. So remember that. Their dynasty was killed by us.
That's right. I would also if the Astros would have made the playoffs, my only compensation is if the Astros beat the Yankees again in the playoffs and then get swept out by the next round. That would have been the only positive for me for them to get in, but that's just me.
So kind of in relation to clubhouse leaders, because this has been a point for the Tigers fandom for a while now in terms of Riley Green strikes out a ton. Yeah, he just hit 200 strikeouts. Okay, I'm going somewhere with this. I promise it's not just talk about the fact that he strikes out a lot. Okay, I think it was the first game after the first game in the series against the Guardians, Riley is asked by a reporter that basically, like, did you know that the Tigers struck out 19 times today? And he's like, oh, I didn't know that. And he's like, it is what it is. And after the Red Sox walked off the Tigers 2 days ago, here's another quote from Riley. Quote, I don't think there's a specific reason. We could have better at bats. We could swing at better pitches. But at the end of the day, that guy is throwing the ball and we're trying to hit it. It is what it is. End quote. So there's a lot of conversation on, is this kind of the clubhouse idea of they're striking out and they're going, is what it is. And it's not good.
I'm taking that more as that's a major league player basically saying we do this every day. I'm not going to be worried about one game striking out the entire team striking out 19 times. We sucked today. We play again tomorrow. Is how I'm taking that.
Yeah, but this is from the Red Sox game, but it's a different. It's yeah, and you can take that in multiple different ways. You can say he doesn't give a shit that they're striking out a ton and they're losing games. That's not. I think that's a little unfair. You can take that as he needs to. I think my opinion is he needs to be given some goddamn media training because dude, you are not helping yourself.
That's where my head went exactly too. Is what this tells me is that Detroit needs to invest a little bit better in their media training.
It was a little tone deaf.
They aren't good answers. They're not.
Good answers.
Whatever you say, I don't think they're very good answers.
Yeah, it's just a lot of people. It's so dumb. A lot of people want Riley Green gone because he strikes out a ton. And I'm like, he hits 35 home runs. Yeah. Do you know how few players in this league do that? There are 25 other teams who would take a left fielder who hits 36 home runs in a season. Like, yeah, exactly. There is a lot of space for him. If the Tigers are like, we want to trade him, they would get 29 offers. Okay, let's be real. And I think the problem is Tigers fan base, they want Miguel Cabrera. He's not right. Riley Green is not Miguel Cabrera. Miguel Cabrera was the closest thing to a perfect hitter you will ever see, and you will see those players once every 50 years. Riley Green is not Miguel Cabrera. He is going to be a multi-time All-Star. He is going to be a very good player. He is not going to be Miguel Cabrera. Okay, let's tone it down a little bit, right? He can still strike out a lot. But he's still going to be hitting a bunch of home runs. And he's not just hitting home runs. He's hitting singles and doubles and, an occasional triple too. And I think also the problem is the team as a general strikes out a lot. They were 26th in terms of strikeout percentage as a team. The problem is not that Riley Green strikes out a lot. The problem is that the whole team strikes out a lot, and people are getting angry at the guy who strikes out the most, which is Riley Green, if that makes sense. Right? So we need to replace some of those other players with players who don't strike out as much. And Riley could be the guy who hits 35 home runs and strikes out 30% of the time. That's fine. It's just when that's complemented with a bunch of other players who strike out 25% of the time, you
don't hit 35 home runs.
Exactly. We need to replace some of those players who are hitting 250 with 10 home runs and striking out 30% of the time. Don't replace the best goddamn hitter on the team because he's striking out the most. He's still the best hitter on the team.
I think we talk, and I'm going to push back a little bit on we need to have, and not really push back, and I think we talked about this when we watched the game last Wednesday. Whatever offensive strategy you choose, you have to be good at it. So the Tigers are they're a home run hitting team that comes with a lot of strikeouts. When they don't hit a lot of strikeout, or when they don't hit a lot of home runs and the strikeouts are still there, it looks painful to watch. And I said this as a Twins fan coming off the Bomba squad when they didn't realize they were no longer the Bomba squad after 2019 for 3 years, where they signed a Joey Gallo and they had Miguel Sano in the lineup and they had all of these guys that can strike out a bunch, and the production was limited. Yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Shouldn't have been. Was on the roster way too long. Had a good April and then just collapsed.
I forgot that he was okay. Sorry.
No, that's fine. But whatever offensive strategy you use, just be good at it. So, and I just said that the Yankees at the start of the show were, to me, they're a good team, but they're a flawed team because they have like they're sloppy, is what Sam was saying. They're the same type of offense as the Tigers. Why I think the Tigers have a better roster than the Yankees is because the Tigers do more than just hit home runs. They can actually field okay. They have better pitching. I feel more
They do
confident
first
about
to
the
third
Tigers.
and second to home.
Right.
Wow.
Well, the Yankees, it's literally a home. If you don't bash the other team in by the third inning, this could be a wild ride by the end of it. The Guardians have perfected what every MLB owner wants them to perfect: a cheap speed and defense team that puts the ball in play and creates havoc on the bases and that has a good pitching staff. They have perfected that. Them and the Rays.
Yeah. I would kind of push back that the Tigers are a home run hitting team because that feels wrong. I mean, you're technically, I guess you're right, but it feels wrong just because, anyway. But I get your point in terms of like, yeah, they don't. The problem is they need to put the ball in play more. That's the thing that's what Dan has always said. The Guardians do very well. They put the ball in play a lot. Tigers don't do it enough. They need to do it just a little bit more, and then they can be so much better because they can do so much first to third, second to home.
I looked this up real quick. We're all kind of the mind that strikeouts aren't, not that they don't matter, but it's not as big of a deal as it was 20 years ago. That's the way it's considered. Here's the top 5 teams in strikeout percentage this year. The Angels, not a good team.
Yep.
The Rockies, not a good team. The Orioles, not a good team. Detroit, hey, that's a playoff team. Pittsburgh, not a good team.
Yeah.
So now I'm cheating because if I go to 6, that's the Yankees. And if I go to 7, that's Seattle. But at least the top 5, you've got the top 3 is no playoff teams, in fact, bad teams, and then the top 5, 4 out of the 5 are not good teams.
This is like kind of diverging into a way bigger topic that maybe we don't want to get bigger into, but there's a lot of conversation of do we want Harris gone or not, right? Part of the big reason behind that was, I've mentioned this, Harris's thing was let's control the strike zone. The problem is they strike out a ton. That's not matching with that viewpoint, right? But okay, there's a really good post a few days ago, but all of these players that strike out a ton, these are Al Avila's players, right? These aren't players that Harris that drafted, right? If that makes sense. They're
sure.
But all of Scott Harris's players that he's drafted they're all in minor leagues, but they have way better walk to strikeout rates, right? And we look at Colt Keith, the guy that he has given a contract to, he has a pretty good walk to strikeout rate. Like, it's not perfect, but it's a 10.3 walks per 10.3% walk percentage and a 21.8 strikeout percentage. Not, like that bad. Like, that's the guy that Harris has given an extension to. And Gleyber Torres, who he signed a 1-year deal with, 13.9 walk rate and 15.7 strikeout rate. It's just, yeah. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but I wanted to bring that up in terms of basically all the players that are striking out a ton are not Scott Harris drafted and farm system players. It's a lot of Al Avila players. So Harris's meant a plan of control the strike zone is still coming up in the minor leagues.
You don't have a full picture of what Harris's vision is at this point in time. Like, his guys haven't matriculated there. And so how can you make a determination that we've got to get rid of this guy when you don't even know what this guy has to offer, basically?
The problem is that all these contracts he's signed that have been, and the trades that have been abject failures. Like, do you realize how much money he has given to Kenta Maeda and John Brebbia and, traded for Charlie Morton? That's not great. It's development-wise, he could be very good, but I am very concerned about trading and
now that you mention it, I don't think the money he gave to Colt Keith looks like money well spent at this point, does it?
Yeah, it does. It's a ridiculously cheap deal for what he's at. Let me pull it up. Let me just
let me look. Maybe I spoke out of turn here. He's a 1.5 win player, 107 OPS plus for a utility guy. What is his contract?
He's not a utility guy. He's just been forced into that role. He's supposed to have one position. He just has moved. He doesn't play multiple positions. So, but he's on a 6-year deal for $28.6 million. That's a hell of a deal.
Their team options too, so it's negatable. Yeah. $5 million is all they're on the hook for. So I take that back.
It's an incredible deal because he is going to be a very good player. That's my opinion.
Sure.
And reminder, he is 24.
Sure.
So, yeah, he is. Yeah, okay. But like that's a good deal for us because his defense needs to improve, but like give him one position and let him stay there. Don't move him twice in the middle of the season. And then problem solved. He also needs to fix the being complete garbage for the first 6 weeks offensively, but like that's just time. Again, this is his second year in the league. He's also injured right now, which makes me very upset because God damn it, we need him. He's been good. But I don't know where I was going with that, but I had a point. But
fair enough. Well, we somehow have made it to 2 hours. We have one very small topic. I would argue the most important topic of the entire year. We can now claim a winner on the prediction tracker. For those who
hold on, are we not continuing the prediction tracker for any potential?
I just mean for the regular season. I mean, we got to figure out.
Do we start something new for the playoffs?
Totally fine.
But yes, if we want to come up with something for the playoffs, that's completely fine. But for those who have maybe jumped on here a little bit late, we have been predicting series every week for the entire season. These are the final results. So Lee, congrats. Good job. 26 correct series predictions. I don't know what the total is. Probably should have kept track of that, or I should have counted that before, but good job. Oren, who hasn't been on in some time, had 10. Sam, 22. Dan coming up in second place. And then I am basically in last because I don't think we can count Oren's contributions anymore with 20 because I believed in the Twins and really shouldn't have.
You were also doing a lot of everyone else picked one team. I'm going to pick the other team just to be contrary. I think
but that was the Twins. Like, everyone else was, like, jumping off. Everyone else saw the sinking ship, and I was like, no, guys, we can fix all these holes. And they're like, no.
Still scooping out your little bucket of water. Hey, we can still fix it.
So yeah. I don't think there's really a whole lot to lead off of that, other than, like, Lee bet on the Tigers, I bet, if we go back more. She looked at the Tigers every.
You know what I'm gonna
the difference.
I do plan on doing. Probably I'll have to wait until over winter break because I'm really busy. I got an article I need to write and homework. I am planning to do I am a stats miner. I love statistics. I'm planning to go through and do a whole bunch of fun little stats for like records against each other and also AL Central versus every other team in the league and stuff like that. I'm going to go through and do who picked their own team the most, and we can
that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I want to do a whole bunch of fun stuff, make some charts and in terms of just kind of it's not gonna be overly complex, but it'll be mostly of like one of them I plan to do is a bar graph, basically just frequency of runs scored, so stuff like that, just so fun stuff like that. Like I said, probably have to wait until December and I'll do it over Christmas because I'm too busy to do any of that shit right now. So
we're gonna need off-season content anyway.
Exactly.
This is true. Hopefully more. I don't want, but that sounds good. But I feel like that is very us-centric, and only we are the ones that are going to care about that information.
Well, it's also just team stats.
Right, okay, that's fair. I was about to say if it's just like how well we did it, I was like, I don't think people.
No, I was going to tack that on at the end. The rest, the more important stuff is all the team stats.
Yeah.
We'll do a bit of an on-air production meeting here just for a second because the Detroit game and the Cleveland game are pretty interesting. This show has gone long enough, and I think we're out of actual like newsy things to talk about.
Do we want to do a final prediction of if the Guardians and Tigers play in the division in the wild card? Okay, that's where you.
I was getting there. But
my bad.
Oh, put on the Tigers game because it looks like it's getting interesting right now.
Right. So this was going to be my point. Do we want to make final predictions to see if they play who we're going to predict, and then maybe cut off this recording and then maybe just live stream the rest of the game?
Yeah, I would be down for that. That'd be.
I might need to take a quick break, but I could probably do that.
Okay, so what I'll do, so we'll just jump into that. Lee, the Guardians are playing the Tigers. I don't care where the game is at. We did this last week. We're going to do it again this week. Who's winning this 3-game series?
All right, we're saying Gavin Williams is going to be pitching for the Guardians for game 1. Is that the...
I believe so.
Okay. I do not feel good about the Tigers team. I do not think we can beat the Guardians. I think we could. I don't think we will, if that makes sense. I don't like it. I do not like this matchup. They are our kryptonite. Guardians in 3.
Guardians in 3. All right. Not asleep.
Dan. I think we can... Also, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but Tarek Skubal's last 2 outings have both been against Cleveland. Neither of them have gone particularly well. The last one didn't go well at all. The first one went fine until he left, and then we immediately gave up the lead. But I think the problem is he's facing the same team 3 times in a row. That's not going to end well.
We'll see. Dan.
While I'm going, can somebody verify for me, has a wild card series ever gone 3 games?
Yeah.
They have? Okay.
Last year.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
But
it does seem like a lot of them are sweeps, though.
A lot of them are sweeps. Statistically, the team that wins first wins the next game 80% of the time or something stupid like that.
Perfect.
But we also don't have a large sample.
The Cleveland Guardians were left for dead when they lost 10 games in a row in July. They were left for dead when they traded Shane Bieber at the deadline. They were left for dead when they lost 9 of 10 in August. They have come back from the dead every single time. They're going to lose game 1 of the series. Everybody's going to write them off, and they're going to win the series in 3 games, regardless of location. Kubel will get the best of them this time, but the Guardians will win the war.
I don't want
perhaps further on.
I don't want to be boring, but the Guardians refuse to change the script. I still believe the Tigers have the better roster, but I've said that against whoever the Guardians have been playing pretty much all year, and they've proven me wrong and throughout multiple years. I think the Guardians in 2.
I feel uncomfortable now.
I was about to say, this is probably the kiss.
Good, we've jinxed it. That's the way we got him.
That's really what Sam wanted, or that's really what Lee wanted.
Lee with the old reverse whammy.
Yeah. Oh, man, I just want playoff games to happen in Detroit because October in the D, I want that back. It's, over my mic. October baseball in Detroit is October sports.
I will add.
Awesome.
In the event that the Guardians are on the road, they have the 3rd best road record in Major League Baseball.
Well, good for you.
Not necessarily a death sentence if that happens. That's the only thing I'm trying to convey. Thank you.
I don't think it makes a difference either way. I think it would just be nice to have games played in Detroit.
Well, I think with that, I'm going to end this recording, and then we're just going to be back in 2 seconds. So if you're watching this live, we'll see you in 4 seconds. You might have to click the same. You might need to refresh the page. If you're listening to this audibly or in the future for some reason, bye. We'll talk to you guys next week and tell you whatever we just watched happened.